Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev.
Hi,
Hello, hello.
how are you doing?
Better. Doing
Uh,
Went on vacation, so different climate and a different way of, well, yeah, having to be mindful of resources. So we took a trip to Mexico, and there's just to give you a little highlight, but I want to come back to prior to going to Mexico. So went to Mexico for 9 days and very humid, not used to humidity, not at that level on a continuous basis, right? So so there was that. And then buying bottled water for 5 people. So being mindful that everybody else needs to consume water as well. I drink a lot of water every day and not drinking as much because of our limited supply every day. So not drinking enough water, and then a lot of stimulation for the area that we were hanging out. So a lot of stimulation energy wise. So with all that, and then on our way home, we had some diverted, our plane got diverted, and then back on track, and then delays, and got home later than usual. And so with all of that, I mean, we had a great time on the vacation. Don't get me wrong, it was great. But the recovery, I'm glad I had a few days, because it took 3 days for a recovery before I kind of felt back to normal. And I really think I did get dehydrated. So just, being awareness of self-care, super important. So glad to be back. I enjoyed the trip. Glad to be back. Because we were in the culture of Mexico. We were not on a resort or anything. We were staying at an Airbnb in the midst of, we went to Playa del Carmen, it's about 45 minutes from Cancun. And so it's interesting, very interesting. And it really, every day I'm thinking, wow, it puts my own life in perspective of what I have and what I take for granted. And I'm so appreciative and grateful for what I do have. So there's that.
awesome.
Yeah, it was good. But what I wanted to come back to was projecting fear. And before, prior to the trip, there were a couple people, just random, wasn't specific, just random, that I had announced to that we were going on vacation. And of course, next question is, where are you going? And it was Mexico. And recently, well, within a month prior to us like announcing we were going on vacation, there had been some mishaps in Mexico, which brought up a lot of fear in people. And so the couple people that I did tell where I was going, fear showed up, right? And it was a projection of their fear onto us. And it was, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going there. And oh my God, are you going to be safe? And just a lot of fear. I was just like, wow, okay. Well, first of all, I was thinking, well, that's your world. I hadn't, it wasn't even a concern to me. Like, I was like, we're going to Mexico. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be with family. We're going to see some stuff, and just be in it. And so I stopped telling people I was going on vacation. There was only like, I mean, you helped me out. So of course you knew. And I tell anybody else. I kept it to the people who I was going to be with. That was our conversation, and went from there. So, projection of fear also comes up through limiting beliefs. And I was talking to somebody not yesterday, the Sunday, and we were talking about that because they're getting ready to go to Mexico as well. And they had the same experience that when they would start telling people, then the other people just, they're just, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going there. And they looked up some statistics, and it was like around 40% of the population never leaves their hometown. Like, never leaves their hometown. And I think it was around 67% of people never leave the state that they live in. And I'm like, there's so much to see, right? Even just in the country that you live in, like we live in the United States, there is so much to see and explore, and so much history, and just, I mean, we live on the west side of the Mississippi, and when you go on to the east side of the Mississippi, it's a whole different world. I know that from experience. I've been there. I was like, this is wild. It's like a whole different, it's like you went through a time zone or a time warp or something. It's just wild. And so because they were my friends, because they were having the similar experience, they were looking up statistics about people and traveling, and I just thought that was fascinating as well. And it's really comes down to staying in your comfort zone, staying in your box, staying in the known. And this can pertain to any part of your life: career, relationships, health, finances, all of it. So limiting beliefs. And we both kind of had the not me and Bev, but these other friends that are going to Mexico, we kind of had the similar thought pattern. Was, well, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I can't do nothing about that. I mean, the plane could crash. I could get in an accident on the way to the airport. I mean, there's all other ways that I could not be here in the physical body anymore. And the chances of the dynamics of what was happening in Mexico prior to us going there and what's happening in the United States, anything could happen, right? Anything could happen at any time, and I have no control over that. So I could continue to live in fear and be put those limitations on myself based on other people's points of view, or you could just live. And we all have that choice.
It's true. And that is not living. When you decide to, out of fear, not go somewhere because you're afraid you're going to die, or you're afraid. I mean, that sounds harsh to a lot of people, but in reality, we're all going to die. And what if today is your last day? And then how are you going to live it? Are you going to live it doing the same exact thing that you've always been doing when your soul guides you to other things?
Yeah.
And you just want to ignore it because you're comfortable? I've been there. Like, I've been there and done that. It's not fun. And also, when you're putting fear onto somebody else, as soon as you recognize, for anybody that's going through this place, because we all have our times. There was, gosh, I used to, Jim and I used to go to Rocky Point. We've been to Cancun. My family, my mom and her husband at that time, they were going to Cancun. They had gone like 10 times, over 10 times. Because they like the resort and stuff like that, which that's kind of crazy. But we went all these times, and then everything was fine. So, but what I want to bring up is, when we're bringing fear into the equation, if I know that you're going to Mexico and I start being fearful for you, I'm now adding energy to your experience that's not necessary. what I can do is when I notice that I have that fear within myself, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity for my growth. And it's also an opportunity for me to send streams of grace or send prayers for you to have a great time and enjoy yourself, and then leave it be what it's going to be and live your life. You could have got home. I mean, there's a million things that could have happened afterwards. So it's like people get so afraid and don't do anything. And believe me, there was a time that we wouldn't have driven to Rocky Point because we were driving at that time. We wouldn't have driven because there was a lot going on in that area. But if you're not, to me, it's in so many ways, if you're not a match to that vibrational frequency, if you're just out to have, fun, and you're being guided by your intuition, you're just going to go have a good time. It's not, everything's going to be an experience. It's not something that's good or bad. So it's really taking the time. And like you said, that's someone else's fears. And that's where our boundaries are at, right? So my boundaries would be, if I'm going to Mexico, I'm just like you, I wouldn't be telling everybody. I'm not going to tell everybody because I don't want them to add to my experience, because I've already set my intentions, and I don't want any part of my thoughts to start gravitating to where, oh, they said that. Look out for that. And here I am. I just saw it go by. A red shoe. It was a red shoe. Oh God, I'm in trouble now.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just something so silly, but then we start creating from that same place, and it's not even necessary. It's really not. It's listening to the intuition and receiving that guidance and going and living and thriving in your life. It's not staying in the job for 50 years. It's not staying in a marriage or getting married just because you think that's the thing that you're supposed to do. That's comfortable. It's the next space. It's not any of those things. It's not any of those things. It's just going out and enjoying life. And a lot of us don't even know what that looks like. But we all have an opportunity now because we just heard that you went there and had a good time.
And it's it's the what ifs.
It is.
Oh, what if that does happen to us? Or what if everything's amazing, incredible? And that's what we were all focused on, was we were all going to be together, and we're going to have, we haven't seen each other in several months, and the opportunity to hang out in a different place and see the culture and see the beach and have some joyous moments. That's what our focus was on. We were so excited. And then, it's the thought, in how many other areas and ways do we project our fear onto people? I know I have done it, and I know I've caught myself doing it.
Absolutely. But that's how we can speak about it, because we've had that in our experience.
Right. It's not safe to start a business now, the way the economy is. Well, most businesses have been started during the downfall of economy. It's a very successful businesses at that.
It's true. There's a book that I've read. It even talks about, it's about the minds, your subconscious mind and stuff like that. But it even talks about really just being open to all those things, because it doesn't matter what is going on in the world. If you're an abundant being, which we all are, but if you're in the processes of all that all the time, your abundance comes from all directions, always. It's not just limited to one thing. It's not limited to the dollar. Now you're receiving abundance in other ways. So no matter what the current currency is, we're always going to be abundant if you're in that mindset. If you're always in that mindset of lack, it doesn't matter if the world's having abundance, because you're in a lack. But if you're in the space of abundance, is always going to show up. The surprise and delight is, how is it going to show up? What does it look like when it's no longer the dollar? I don't know yet, but we can be excited about it instead of being in a place of fear of it. Because guess what? It's happening. There's changes that are happening right now. So we can be fearful of these changes, or we can embrace these changes knowing that the old things don't work anymore. They just don't work.
Right. And things will crumble. We've had this conversation before. Things will crumble and feel like they're going to hell in a handbasket, but the rebuild is so incredible.
What just flashed in my mind is, like, when we're first born into a physical body, it's like, what the fuck, man? I can't go anywhere. I can't communicate with anybody. Nobody's listening to a goddamn word that I'm saying. You know what I mean? I can't even I want that toy over there, and I don't even know why I want that toy, because life is so much bigger than that toy. But I mean, we're so limited when we first come in here. We're just limited to such a small space because, well, we have our minds and we have our spirituality and we have all that. But if we're not recognizing it, then we're just recognizing that we're like, what in the hell? Like, I'm in this right now. Like, oh, what am I going to do with this?
And
It
that
just takes
toy,
time.
and that toy that you want, you're going to figure out how to get to it.
Yeah.
Right? And you might, in the beginning, you might fuss and cry, and then somebody just hands it to you. And now you have this thing to play with. Or if you're learning to move on your belly, the belly crawl, because you can't walk yet, you haven't learned that mobility yet, that you figure out how to move your body, maneuver your body. Maybe you have to roll your body to get to that toy. And then it's learning to walk. As you're walking towards that toy, you fall down. Now you got to figure out how to get back up. So you find something to get you back up so that you can move toward that toy. And that might happen over and over and over again. But then you're going to remember, oh, I got belly crawl skills, or I got hands and knees skills, right? To get you to that toy. And yeah, it's actually, babies are more what would you say, agile, persistent toward their goal than adults.
But also focused, right?
Yes.
Because if they see that toy, if they've got their eye on that toy, nothing's going to sway them. Nothing will sway them. Nothing. And I mean that, like, sometimes that's not always a great thing for the person that's on the sidelines, just give them the damn toy. But nothing will sway them. They are focused on that, and that is their mission. And that's the thing. We've all become unfocused. Not all of us, but in a lot of ways, we've become unfocused. We've become, I'm just going to go ahead and jump on this ride and I don't know where it's taking me type of thoughts, instead of knowing that we have manifestation, we have control over a lot of things. And it's not even having the control, it's just we get to be that child that is walking over to that toy, because everything is perfect. Like, they're enjoying that journey going over there. You can see it in their face. You can see it in their eyes. You can feel it in their energy as they're doing all these things. Everything is palpable. So it's really just being in that space of awareness, because it kind of lets us know where we're at.
Yeah. Yep. And
because they can't, because they just know what they want. We know, we've learned that we don't always get what we want. What do your parents always say? Well, that's tough. You don't always get what you want.
Exactly.
Which is not true.
Right. That's another limiting belief. And you know, when we talk about the downturn of economy, I'm asking you directly, Bev, how many times have you received something you wanted and never paid for it? It was a gift. It just showed up in your experience in some way.
I would probably say, I don't know if I would sit and count, or to think about this thing. I would say that exactly,
right? Just
exactly.
multiple times.
It's not just one time, but how much did I appreciate it when I received that?
Right. And it was you know, the desire, let's just say a desire for a trip. But we think we have to have the money in the bank, and we have to plan everything out. We have to do all these things. And while you're focused on your money and where you're at in your reality, you're too head down, and you're not open to all the other possibilities. When the fact is, a friend just might call you on the phone and say, hey, I have an extra ticket to wherever, right? Hawaii or wherever place that you've been desiring to go. And I would like to invite you to go. You never know how stuff is going to come to you, but people are really so focused on the economy, and they don't think about all the other possibilities.
Limiting it, right? Because it can show up in so many different ways. And gosh, my mom actually got to go on a trip with my stepdad's cousin. So because someone was supposed to go with her to, I think it was Maui. Someone was supposed to go with her
Here
to
I am saying
Maui.
Hawaii.
Exactly. And it's
She
like,
must be here
and
saying hello.
it could have been the Big Island. I don't even remember, but she asked my mom, and it's like, my mom's like, yes. She would totally go, because they would go do things together, which they did, because otherwise they wouldn't have had as much sightseeing and enjoyed as much if it had been her and her husband at that time. Really,
Yeah.
it would have been different, because he liked to stay in the room and relax. It was vacation to him was relax, and we're not doing anything. And she loved to go out and see everything and explore and have a good time. But without, if she would have tried to control that, that would never have happened. And what gets in the way a lot of times is that unworthiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That unworthiness. So that friend now shows up to you and they're like, oh, I got this. And then you find every single reason, because you don't feel like you're worthy of receiving that gift.
Right.
And now you've asked the universe for this help, but now you're like, no, I just can't. Gosh, thank you so much for offering that to me, because we'll find ways of talking ourselves out of it instead of knowing that I'm going to have a good time, right? Just
Right.
and setting our intentions. But there's so much similarities there that go on.
Yep.
And that's the unworthiness. I was listening to Bashar yesterday, which is another person, a channeler, if people ever want to do any exploration. He was talking about just traveling and having a good time, but he wasn't limiting it. He wasn't limiting any of his experiences, because we have expectations for something to happen. And then he started talking about being worthy and unworthy. And when you think that you're unworthy, because you're meant to be here, or you wouldn't be here. So you're worthy of it, right? So we go through this whole thing and we talk ourselves out of so many things due to that thought of unworthiness, which is not even true. It's not even a true story, but we took on that belief. We believed it from somebody else. And it's like he says, change the definitions, like explore what that definition really means to you, and then change your definition, because that's how you change kind of how your outlook is. And then now that's where your control comes into play, because you have an opportunity right then. And then, so we have that control to make a choice, right? It's totally up to us. We've taken the whole control thing to a whole new level. I had before, trying to control every single thing and every person and whatever I could around me. Oh my gosh. But when you do all that stuff, you're not taking the time to be now. You're not taking the time to appreciate. You're not taking the time to just be in joy.
Yeah.
Because you're so focused on what you don't deserve.
Right.
When you deserve.
And even if you accepted that free trip to Maui, now it's immediate. How am I going to pay them back? I got to give them, right? What can I do to pay it back to that particular person?
So you have value, right?
Yeah.
So you have value for that. And then how many times have you gotten something from somebody that you were asking and that's not you, that was the last person you wanted anything from.
Right.
Right. And it's like, oh no, really. Thank you, but no, thank you. But that's the control thing. Even though you asked the universe and the universe spoke, and you have people, we can call them angels, messengers, whatever, but they listen, and they were the ones willing to do it. Instead of you just appreciating and accepting where you're at, thank you. Just thank you without even having to owe anything back.
Yeah.
But we get trained, right? Because I got trained too. I gave you a gift. I gave you this, and you're not using it to write with this pencil. You're not using it to write with. I want it back. Because we've experienced things. We have experience.
And then what do we do? Oh, Bev, are you using that pen I gave you? And then that puts you on the spot, right? You're just like, shoot. In your head, you're probably thinking, I don't even know where the hell that pen is right now.
Exactly.
Right?
It's 100%.
Yeah. And end of story, no attachments.
Yeah, because then it negates all the positive stuff, and it negates your asking, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the practices of unconditional love, is to give a gift without expectation. Because typically, if I hand Bev a gift, we're expecting a thank you. We're expecting some kind of kudos. We're expecting that when Bev opens that gift, oh, she's just going to be over the moon that I gave her this amazing pen that I thought was amazing. And in her brain, she might be like, one more fucking pen in my house. She might have tons of pens. It happens with coffee cups. Coffee cups is like at the top for that, right? Because if you know somebody likes coffee and you find this coffee cup with the funniest thing on it, they already might have 5 of those in their cupboard, or they already have a cupboard full and 2 more boxes of coffee cups, and they're just like, I don't need another fucking coffee cup. But for me giving that as a gift, I'm thinking this is the greatest thing ever and they're gonna love it. And when I don't get the reaction that I'm expecting when they open that gift, now it's like my expectation is lowered, and now it's my ego that says, well, you weren't good enough in that one, were you? It's this crazy cycle that we do. So a practice of unconditional love is to give a gift and not even see them open it. Don't even acknowledge it. Don't ask them later, did you like it? That really puts people on the spot too, is to ask them, oh, did you love that? And you're just like, yeah, it was great. It's like,
Well, because you don't want to let the person down, so you feel encouraged to almost lie about something when it's just better just to be honest about it.
yeah,
And if it hits a trigger on someone else, then that's their trigger, that's their growth.
yeah,
There's always nice ways of saying things, and I don't know. Sometimes it's nice if I give you a coffee cup and you're like, oh, I already have that one. Set it aside and put a note on it that this was from Bev. Now you have an extra coffee cup in case one of yours breaks. Or if someone comes over and says, God, I really like to sing on that. Well, here you go. It's a
there
gift.
you go.
Because it doesn't matter where it ended up to. It just, or who received it immediately. It's who's enjoying it.
Right.
That's all that matters. Who's enjoying that gift?
Yeah. And that's important too, is having that stuck energy. So if I have 2 boxes of coffee cups that aren't being used, that's stuck energy. That's stifling my flow. And those are things that could be used by other people that could really benefit from them or enjoy them. There's also, as an example, I've done this, donate coffee cups and vases to florists.
Nice.
They
That's
use
nice.
them, right? So,
About it. Yep.
and then think about those being decorated with flowers and being given to somebody and they get to enjoy it. And
That's
so,
awesome. Especially even if you, before you do that, almost like do like a ritual, but almost like sending even more energy to those cups, because whoever is going to receive them is going to receive that energy too. It's no different than our artwork or reading or writing a story or painting or walking or just even having a dialogue with somebody. It's that intention behind, and it's so powerful.
yes. But as the person with the expectation, that's some inner work that I would have to take care of, which I had to do just so you know, years ago, was that because when we give a gift and we have that expectation of receiving their joy, I want Bev's joy about this pen. I want Bev's joy to be as elated as my joy is about that pen. It's because I want to feel loved. I want to feel accepted, that I'm giving her a gift that she's going to enjoy because I enjoyed it. And I need her approval that this was the thing, to make that connection. And so be mindful, like really be mindful when you're giving somebody a gift or doing something special for somebody and you don't get the reaction that you're expecting, right? Quote unquote, expecting. It's not about you. It's about them. It is about you, because if you take it personal, you got some inner work to do. And however they receive that gift, that's their right. They get to be in that space, and it's okay. But if you get offended in any way, you better go do some journaling and meditating and some healing.
Yeah, because by getting to the surface or getting to the bottom of it, you release it from you. You don't have to carry it anymore. You don't feel that way anymore. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good because that almost creates like a separateness. Then we get back to the undeserving, not worthy, everything else, and it just none of it feels good.
Yeah.
So it's just really being aware, because all this stuff is just like it sets off our suit, right? Lets us know there's something going on, that doesn't feel peaceful. Oh, what is this? There's a splinter right here. What is this all about?
Yeah.
And then you get to expose it, and then you're done with it. And then if it shows up again, which is kind of funny, I'm thinking about yesterday. So I'm on my way home. My granddaughter says I gotta go to the bathroom. I'm on the highway. I'm like, well, we're gonna have to wait till at least I hit the dirt, and then we can pull off and go to the bathroom. So I found a space, I drove. I was on our dirt road, and then I took this wash over to a side, and I thought, she went to the bathroom, and I thought, well, let's just go ahead and follow this wash down and see. Not a good idea. I'm in a freaking 2-wheel drive truck. Needless to say, my truck slid and I got stuck, right? So, and I've already gotten a feeling that you're probably going to get stuck. It was an opportunity, right? And I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I was kind of upset about it yesterday because I felt like I was putting somebody else out, even though I wasn't, but it was my feelings, right? So I'm negating somebody else's good deed,
Right.
helping me out, which is my partner. So I called up Freeman because I got out and I was going to throw some rocks under the back of my tire to, get myself out of that space. Well, I opened the door and I put my foot on the ground, and all of a sudden I hear a weird noise. I picked up my foot, stuck my foot back in the truck, closed the door, rolled down my window, and there was a freaking diamondback right there, a rattlesnake right within a few feet from where I was standing.
Oh.
So it's like, Freeman? Vivi's in the back seat and she's like, you need to call Freeman.
To call for help, Grandma.
Yes, so I called him, and of course he came and saved us as usual. He's safe. And that's like I told him, I've never been stuck ever, and this is probably like this is the third time he's bailed me out.
Wow.
It's a 2-wheel drive truck, honestly, where I'm at, but he's been my hero, my knight in shining armor that has shown up each time to save us. But the thing is, I got a message earlier in that conversation, and that's the fun part. That's why I'm not mad, because I received the message. I knew, it's kind of ignoring it. I'm like, yeah, we're having fun, and we could make it. We could.
What if?
No, we couldn't. And he had to pull me out twice because it went to turn in another place, and it's like, nope, it won't. It wouldn't. He says I only have one tire that runs, because it's a one wheel. It's just a rear wheel drive. It's not a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So it's like, for God, I was getting frustrated. Like, what in the hell, right? But I had an opportunity right then. I'll have another opportunity down the road to handle it even differently. I was upset about it. Everything. We get home all right. Everything's fine. He fixed whatever was needed to be fixed on the truck. Everything was fine. And I got up, so I just got over it real quick. But I didn't have to be in that space in the first place. I had an opportunity.
Right.
First of all, the opportunity was I could have listened to my intuition that was letting me know, hey, you're going to get stuck. And then I get stuck, and I think I'm going to get out because it's funny how this is coming to me, because I'm thinking I'm going to do this by myself. I don't need anybody's help, right? And it was not. And the rattlesnake's like, you can get back into your truck, or we're going to have words. Yeah. Because I will bite that mother back. He can bite me, but I'm biting it. Oh my God. But anyway, so he bailed me out there. And my other opportunity was I could have just been in a space of joy, like, hey, listen, I did a thing. I didn't listen to my intuition. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Here we are. But I was a little bit pissed off about it, to be quite honest with you.
Well, that diamondback, like I said, that diamondback helped put you in a position to have to ask for help. Otherwise, you would have rock thing and struggled and strained with that. And
yes, it's allowing that receiving, right?
Yeah.
What was I told the other day? Oh, because I had stabbed myself in the hand. And what was the thing? The thing was, this is our giving and our receiving, right? This is our holding on to or letting go. And it's like, what was I holding on to? Well, thinking that I have to do everything by myself. I don't have to do everything by myself. I don't. And being independent's great, but it has its drawbacks. And being independent's great, but at some point, if asking for help, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. So there was a lot of growth. A lot of growth happened yesterday. And you know what Vivi did the whole time? She just sat and smiled about the whole thing. And then when Freeman got us out, and she's like, Freeman saved us.
Yay.
Big old smile.
So
she's receiving information at the same time too, because she's not, because I was raised to be independent. I raised my kids to be independent, which kind of sucks in a lot of ways we've talked about, because it kind of, you isolate yourself thinking that you have to do these things independently. You cannot ask for help. So asking for help is hard. So it's very important for me to ask for help, because now I've got someone with me that has a mom that was trained to be independent. Or she's good about, she asks for help now too. But now Vivi has the opportunity to know that it's not, I don't have to do this all by myself. I'm not alone. So there's just so much growth that happens from those little things that we can get so frustrated about. But until we stop and reflect about it, we don't see the bigger picture. We don't see all the benefits that came from that. It's just like we've had some tragedies in town recently with vehicle accidents, and it hasn't been, there's 3 or 4 of them that I know of right now that have been recent since the beginning of
This month in April.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot has gone on, but at the same time, we've got to find, and we don't have to, it's a choice, but if you want to make life a little bit easier and a little bit lighter, it's finding all those nuggets. It's finding all the things that were positive about somebody that when they were here, because they weren't a loss. Otherwise they're a loss. We've got by us looking at and finding the positives for that person, and who knows what type of things will happen with the families and the parents and everybody else, how they'll come together or how they won't. But it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to create something that's going to make a difference for other children, so that the life of that child or those children or those people, it's not a loss, because there's always something. Everybody brings something to the table. Everybody does. And there's always greatness that comes from it. And unfortunately, we don't always see that greatness until after the people are gone.
Right.
But still, that's still an opportunity as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, because I've been thinking about the one particular incident since it happened.
Yeah.
And, I just keep coming back to the people that are still here and who are being affected by the incident. The level of growth and expansion that they came for and the opportunity for it. And it'll be interesting to see the direction it goes.
Yeah. Yes.
And I may not even never know, right? Because I don't know all the people that are affected, but I know some of them. And I would love to be a fly on the wall for the rest of their lives, but I can't do that because I have my own life to live. But the mental capacity, the emotional capacity, the spiritual capacity, like just all of it, in the sense of what are they going to do with the information from this experience? And there's so many ways in which so much positive stuff could come from it. And there's also the other direction too, right? And that's the free will of the human being in the human body, is the free will, and getting to choose which direction you're going to go. Now, some of them may choose a path of demise that's destructive, and down that path, something might happen to redirect them on a different path. And then of course their choices are going to affect so many more people. And so a lot of growth and expansion to happen, and to think that they may have agreed on this experience before coming into the human body.
Yeah.
And I know, if anybody's watching this who understands the incident we're talking about, and think, why would anybody choose to do that? Because it's all growth and expansion. I was listening to Next Level Soul, and the lady was talking about how she was married, they had kids, and she was getting messages, and the message came to her that her soul contract with her husband was over, had been fulfilled, not over, but had been fulfilled. And that wasn't, even receiving that information, it wasn't easy for her to process, and they ended up divorced. But then she ended up in this other relationship that was dynamic in the sense that it opened her up even more to the spiritual space. And that wouldn't have happened unless the divorce happened. And so, soul contracts, we don't need to get into it, but that's part of us being here, is that we're characters in each other's play on this earth. And there's certain things that we came to learn from each other specifically. And when that's done, we're done. Like, we're just like, okay, I did my part, gotta go now.
Yep.
I'm gonna go home. I'm leaving the stage now.
Mhm.
I'm done. So I
That's
know
true.
that's not easy to hear, and I don't take it lightly as part of the process. And I feel that in me, like, that's part of the process. Like, Bev and I doing this is part of our process. And the way we came to get, like, we knew each other many years ago, but didn't know each other.
Mhm.
We didn't talk to each other. Like, we didn't even see, like, we knew of each other, but didn't see each other or talk. And then for us to come back so many years later to come together to do this, and who knows how long this is going to last, right? And so we're just fulfilling different agreements with each other. And it's the human mind or the human experience that makes it really hard. And I'm not saying it's not hard. I know it's hard. I know it's hard for what these families are going through. And I totally have compassion for them. But I also see it from a different perspective of what the purpose, and I'm not going to say the reason for it, but the purpose of it and what they're going to do with it.
It's true. And we can go back to the beginning of our conversation, which is relevant. It's obviously not, there's not an extreme, but just you going on your trip to Mexico and people, when you're in a space of worrying, sending prayers.
Yeah.
So in just in this instance too, these family, everybody that has had these losses, each one of these persons have their guides. So what can we do? We can send them prayers. We can send them streams of grace. There's not a whole lot we can do, but we can send them a lot. Instead of sending them something heavy, instead of sending them worry, instead of sending them, because I could put myself in their shoes and I would be devastated. I don't know. And that's even with all the information that I have right now, because we still have to go through this human experience. We're here for a reason. So the human experience means you're going to feel the emotions. Or you can choose not to. A lot of people choose not to. There's ways of it, you can escape it for a while.
Yeah.
But it's being in that space of feeling it. And how can we help is by being in a space of love and then sending them that love, sending them those prayers. That's all that we can do right now. And be there for whoever during their experience when they're ready to receive. When they're ready to be, when they're tired enough that they don't want to do this by themselves all the time. And that's where our guides come in. That's when we start recognizing there's more. Is it help parents heal? Is that what it is?
Heal.
Helping Parents Heal. Huge organization, huge. But again, they may not reflect the same thoughts that someone else might have because they may be more on a spiritual based journey. But a lot of those people get drawn into that on that spiritual based journey, and they start recognizing that, I go back to Susan Giesemann or Suzanne.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, all of a sudden I couldn't remember her name. But go back to Suzanne Giesemann and how she was feeling and how every single day after her stepdaughter had transitioned, she started meditating every day, but because maybe she wouldn't have labeled it meditation right away, but she was saying, okay, Susan, I know you're here, because it when something like that happens, there's got to be more. That can't be the end of it. And so for someone that might think that that's the end of it, now that they have an to be able to see that there's a bigger picture, to see, wait a minute, I can still contact my daughter. I can still contact my kids. I can still I can still contact my mom or my sister or my brother or whatever. We still have access to that, and we don't know that until this becomes our own personal experience. And then it's just a choice. Then it's a choice of, you can either be in a victim space forever. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because it's not, because it's all right. If that's where your growing is coming from, then you do you. I say stay in that space. I'm not saying that anything's good or bad, but we're here for our own journey. But we can ease somebody else's journey by our prayers. We can ease their journey, and they may not realize that. I can just tell you, when I've had people transition from me, when someone walks up and says, "I'm sorry for your loss," that hurts, because now you're already in an emotional space, and now you're just like hooked into their energy and their loss, their feeling of your loss. When it's like, tell me the fun stories, like tell me the stuff, like some of these individuals I see pictures of, and I know of them. They're lights. They're like such a bright light. And it's like so powerful. I always think about my brother, because he may have had this from the outside looking in. A lot of people would have thought he was lost, and he was in a lot of ways, but all this turmoil and everything else. But that was his journey. That was his experience. How can I judge his experience when I don't live like that? I'm never going to have an understanding of that. So how can I judge that? So we support him by sending prayers. And then, oh, look at them. They're on their journey and they're doing it. They're still here doing it. So, I mean, it's just our perspective. Like, how do you want to look at things?
Wouldn't it be awesome if we could just go up to people, that, especially those that we struggle with, and go, wow, you're doing a great job for me. Thank you so much for showing up and helping me heal these pieces or heal these wounds. Wouldn't that be awesome to, like, on a stage, how they have when the producer says cut and all the actors are like, wow, good job. That was a great scene. You did your lines on point, and that character came out and it was so good. Wouldn't that be awesome if we could do that?
Yeah.
If we could just be like,
but I see that, but we
look at
can't.
how you're showing up for me.
Yeah. But we can do it right now. We can start doing it now. That's the difference, right? We can start celebrating now. We can start teaching our kids now. We can start everything that we do has a ripple effect. It has a ripple effect for everybody. And one of the things that I wrote down a little while ago are, how are you adding to the whole? Like throughout all these experiences, what are you adding to this?
Right.
Are you adding grief to it? Or are you adding possibilities? Are you adding joy? Are you adding love? So, because everything's an opportunity, and that's great too. Even if someone shows up and flips you off, right? I understood what you were saying, but the same thing when they show up and flip you off, like, thank you for showing up, because guess what? You didn't trigger me this time.
Right.
Yeah, no big deal. I'll put that in my pocket. I'll put that bouquet with bouquet of the rest of them I have on my desk, right? Yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just making light of things, not being a smart ass, but making light of things, being in the space of joy. Thank you. Authentically, thank you. Hand on your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for showing up. Because if you didn't show up and trigger me, I wouldn't have known that was there this whole time. And I could still be walking around with this, wondering why I'm not evolving to the place that I think and know that I can be.
Right. Yeah, I saw a meme on social media, and it said, for me to be offended, I have to value your opinion. So like you said, if somebody's flipping you off on the roadway and you're just like, you may not even see it, right? Because you're not in vibrational connection with it. You may have looked this way and they're flipping you out, but you have no idea. You have no idea that they're even doing it, or you see it and that's what I do. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, they're having a moment, they're having a day, they're having an issue, they have their own issue, their problems, whatever. I mean, I'm just gonna do me. And if I feel good about that, then how they respond to it, that's their business, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, that the interesting part of it is that for us to have that kind of interaction or dialogue about, hey, good job, Bev, for pissing me off, because wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. For us, and the idea of, that there's more after death. There's not like the death of the physical body. There's more after that. And there's more population's got to get on board with that, right? To understand. And there's the beliefs. So everybody's living life from their own beliefs. So these people that have been traumatized and have been affected by these accidents that have happened, it's based on their belief system. And also out of it, because like you said, these people are like shining, they're just so bright. Their souls are so bright. And it may be an opportunity that because they have transitioned, that they in some way still have work to do with their loved ones and friends that are still here, of that communication, of opening up that gap, or crossing that veil, so that people are more awake. And somebody just talked again, next level soul, somebody just talked about that on there, that in the next couple years, like there's going to be at least 1 billion people that have awakening.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, that's incredible. Like that's so, I'm excited to see this transition that's coming, because even, I've said this too before, that multi-millionaire business people that I listen to and follow, they're influencers. They talk about, they have, they're Christians, but they also believe in vibration and energy and spirit. Like they're living both of those, they have beliefs in both of those spaces. And the commingling of that, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is the commingling of, you can have your beliefs as far as religion and commingle into what we call the spiritual side of things, of energy and vibration and frequency, and that this physical body is just temporary, that our spirit lives on forever, and we can still have that interaction, conversation, connection with it, and that's, I think, is the awakening that's coming. Is that's going to become a normal conversation.
Yeah, because we're all a part
Like,
of it.
hey Bev, have you heard from your mom today? And you'd be like, well, yeah, because you just talked about Hawaii.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. 100%.
I mean, why would I pick Hawaii? I just went to Mexico. Why would I pick Hawaii?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's because your mom's saying, hey Bev, I'm here.
Yeah,
We're having
because
a
she is.
conversation about this particular thing, and Amy said Hawaii, and you're saying, I've never been to Hawaii. Why would I pick Hawaii?
Yeah.
So,
It's because it's proof of life after death, right? It's proof that life is always, it's always, period. That's the end of it. There's no other way to define it. We're continual. We shed the skin. That's it. We drop the suit. That's it. Which sounds so flippant and light, but at the same time, that's it. It's that simple. But we become so vested in it. And so all this, when we have these transitions, it helps each and every one of us. It's an opportunity for us to have that connection.
yeah.
And how do we get that connection? It's being focused on it, just like that child was on that toy. It's not being distracted by anything else. It's letting that be your focus. And then see what happens for you. Because like I said, Suzanne Giesman was just going in, and all she was doing was like, Susan, I know you're out there. I know you're out there. Come talk to me. Show me your presence. I know you're out there, because she saw the body of her stepdaughter lying in the casket and knew that wasn't her. That was not her.
Right.
That was just a vessel that she had inhabited. It had no life to it. It had none of her pizzazz. It had none of her, just exuberance.
And it was her belief that there was something more. And this is a lady with, how was she have 20, 30 years as in the Navy, 20 years in the Navy,
Yeah.
very high ranked. This was not in her wheelhouse of talking or connecting with spirit, but it was her stepdaughter that opened her up to the avenue that she's on now.
And this is a natural state for us. This is a natural state for all of us. It's just remembering, because we're so used to using these tools. We came into these little suits, and then we grew up being very earthbound, not even thinking about being spiritual. It wasn't that stuff was natural for us still, until it was kind of groomed out of us. It was trained out of us so we could be different, so we could be obedient, so we could be the best we could possibly be at our job and for our families and everything else. Very closed-minded, very close-sighted.
Yeah. So we spend our entire adult life unlearning what we learned. And that's the growth and expansion, right? So
Yeah.
the belief is when somebody dies, that's it, or they die and go to heaven, or they die and go to hell, or some people don't believe there's a heaven or hell. Some people believe that once the body dies, that's it. There's nothing else. Like,
Yes.
that is it. And so projection of fear there too could show up. Projection of fear of it's not safe to drive a vehicle, right? Projection of fear of, you can't have passengers in your vehicle. I mean,
Yeah.
it could show up in so many different ways.
What ifs, right? All the what ifs start coming up.
Yeah.
I heard something amazing the other day. I know we're about wrapping up, but it's really feeling other people's energy, and it's recognizing we all are psychic, and we can all be these mediums. It just depends on what we're putting our energy on. And being the psychic means that if I'm with you, we're sharing energy. I don't have to. Someone had said something about reading someone, and it's like that distracted her. So she doesn't say reading. That would be Suzanne Giesman. She doesn't say reading on everybody, because when she was learning this stuff, that when she would say reading somebody, it would be separate from her. The thing is to know your own energy. And then when you're in this space with someone else, or if you're thinking about somebody else, now you're recognizing there's different energies showing up. And now you can kind of put words to what they're feeling.
Yeah.
It's talking about it. So that's something that we can do. And then once you realize that you're doing that, you're tuning in and then going to a different frequency to tune into the loved ones for them to come forward. And now you're basically doing the same thing. You're meshing your energy with the other person's energy, or the other energy.
Yeah.
So then you can bring forth the messages. So it's just taking the time. And for me, when I heard that, was very simple. She really simplified it. And I'm like, holy, because I already do that. You already do that. We all do this, and we don't even recognize it. But now I'm just telling people, pay attention to your tools. This suit that you're in, give guidance. You know where you're standing right now. And then when you're in a space where you recognize your own energy, and you're familiar with your own energy because you've spent time in it and you love yourself. Now, when you're sitting with someone else and you're receiving their energy, now you have an understanding. That changes the whole idea of being an empath, because I've got some that feel like being an empath is a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. It's an enhancement to your suit.
Right.
So, and then you have the ability to be that ripple to help that person in a way, because they're being seen and heard. And you don't have to say anything about some of this stuff, but you can bring forward information. It's not a matter of reading their mind. It's a matter of being in their energy, feeling them, walking in their shoes, so to speak, in a lot of ways, but not walking in their shoes. And we talked about that a long time ago, that you can feel someone else's energy. So with that being said, I recognized when I started focusing on some of these individuals from these accidents, the family members, that I would be walking around, because I wasn't paying attention, but I'd be walking around thinking, man, I shouldn't do that. I should do something else. No, I'm really doubting myself. And then I realized that this person was doubting their decisions, that they allowed their kids to go, all go together, whatever, but they had no control over it. That's our control mind. That's where we want to control everything, keep everything safe. We can't control everything. We're going to lose family members, and we have no control over it. And we can forget to live life. Like we talked about earlier, don't go on the trip. Something could happen. We can fear living life and then just stay where we're at and then not live at all and just die eventually. Or we can just go out and live our lives, and we can have these stories about how amazing, gosh, how amazing was that person? How amazing was Michael that he lived his life? He lived his life. He didn't live it according to my rules. He didn't live it according to his parents' rules. He lived his life. It may not have been exactly what he came here for, but he lived his life and it wasn't by somebody else's ideals.
Right.
And that's one of the things I was going to say about him earlier, because he was a light too. And I know because I'm a Reiki practitioner and I used to work on his energy, and I know that he was a big energy, big, huge energy. But people looking at him could hold judgment, not knowing that how big this energy was.
Yeah.
Huge. And then even with these other ones that have transitioned, to know that they're amazing, they're in a great space, like they're in a great space, and then trying to help soothe the ones that are left over here.
And, you know, like your brother, like he might have had this incredible, powerful energy, but he didn't know what to do with it in this physical
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And so he lived life the way he knew how to do. And who's to say that, you know, either he wasn't ready for that power or the people around him wasn't ready for that power. And who's to say that he will come back as another grandchild or even a great grandchild.
Oh, it's very possible.
Right. So he's going to
Oh,
come
yes.
back if he chooses to come back at a time like now, where there's this huge awakening happening, that his spirit might be like, oh, okay, I could probably do better this time because people are ready for it. But he
Yeah.
still has to go through the whole process of going from, being born and going from an infant into a bigger body so that and then, I mean, who knows?
100%. And then our value as well, we have an input to that. We have an opportunity to raise them, to guide them into themselves, to listen to themselves.
Yeah.
And then that creates a ripple effect. And then we've got all these new ones that are coming in that already are
Right.
everything that we're looking for right now. They're already everything they already remember, and they're not going to forget. They're going to remember.
Right.
And that's going to create a ripple effect. So like you said, when you talked about billions of people awakening, oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, yes.
And it's awesome.
And I just want to hit on when you talked about people being an empath and they think it's a bad thing. Let's talk about animals.
Oh yes.
Animals know when there is a natural disaster happening or coming before it happens. If you see a bunch of animals running, you better haul ass in the same direction, because they know, right? Well, how do they know? It's that vibrational frequency. That's what we all are. That's what we all could benefit from tuning into and utilizing it as a natural part of who we are.
100%.
You don't see the animals standing there going, well, damn it, I felt that earthquake, and I can't believe I felt that earthquake like 10 minutes ago. And I just stood here, and no, they're like, peace out, brother. I'm going for high ground. I'm going, you know what? Flood's coming. I'm going for high ground. You can stand here if you want to, but the herd doesn't talk about it. They're like, gotta go. I'm feeling this crap. I gotta go. I'm not waiting for you. If you want to be on the train out of here, let's go. I think that's exciting. I'm like, humans, it just sounds so fun to me to be, like we talked about earlier. High five, Bev. Thanks for being a bitch earlier, because that helped me. Man, I really had to do some inner work. And then also this whole empath thing, feeling energy. We should be celebrating that, because that's part of, that's not part of, it is who we are. Everything around me is energy. Everything around me has vibrational frequency, the earth, the sky, the people, the stuff that's sitting here. We're celebrating that, tuning into it, learning how to fine tune it, learning how to discern those different sensations. So beneficial.
So beneficial.
And it would be so much more powerful. I want to say in a good way, so much more powerful in our creation process by creating what we want, instead of, I'm just going to lean into politics just for a second, instead of creating the political leaders that we've had and have had to choose from. Like if we heightened our skills in our creativity, how dynamic the excitement of the people that could come in and be our leaders, if that's the direction we continue to have. Maybe we might end up without leaders. Who knows? That we just live life. Who knows?
Yep.
It's 11:11, just so you know, on my clock. I'm like, ah, what a great time to have this conversation.
What a great time.
Talking about
But it's true. It's true, because we are creating all the time. We're creating with what we listen to. And it's happening so fast. And which reminds me, I just was at the store before I came home. I had gone to the store before I picked up my granddaughter. So I got to a store and there was like two people in line, a guy and a girl, and they were talking about Mojave greens. And I didn't contribute to the conversation. It got my attention for a minute, and then I just went on doing my own thing. And of course, and then what did I run into within probably within an hour, maybe an hour and a half later, a rattlesnake, right? So I mean, it's just, that's how we manifest. That's where are you giving your attention to? And it's really just taking the time for ourselves. And if it's important to you, you'll do it, right? This is important to me. I'm already noticing that we're manifesting. We can manifest that easily. And so we're all learning right now. We're in that space that you're going to see a lot more people. They're going to have realizations, just like you were talking about, that are going to realize that we are master manifestors, and they're going to start doing something different about it.
I'm so excited sitting here while you're talking about snakes, because what do snakes represent? The shedding of the old.
Yes.
They shed the old.
Transition, 100%. Yep.
And what's the big, right? I mean, this year, I think, because I mean, already in April, this year is a big year for us in our area for snakes. I just feel that because
Oh, yes.
of everything, but it's a representation of shedding the old so you can grow.
Transformation. We're in butterflies. They've been around, they've been all over the place, and they're just going to get more. There's going to be more and more of them because of the weather that we had for the summer or the winter. We have fertile grounds.
That's right. And it's not just here, it's like everywhere.
It is. But such growth, right? So such abundance. Another way of looking at abundance.
Yes.
And everything has a purpose. The ants have a purpose. They do their thing. And then you've got horned toads that eat the ants. Like everything has a purpose. Everything does. Sometimes I have to go look it up to find out what the purpose. I'm like, Yellow Jacket, I'm not sure about you, buddy.
Right.
So
awesome. What a great conversation.
It's an awesome conversation.
Well, I hope the audience has gotten something out of it. And if you have, and you know that somebody else could, please share us. Share our videos. Put us out there. Let people know we exist. Please. Give the gift to a friend. All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. We absolutely appreciate your time and energy. And yes. We're just, praying for your own spiritual expansion and growth, because that definitely contributes to the collectiveness of all of us. So any final words from you, Bev?
I do not. Well, I mean, I can just say have a wonderful week, right? Be the best version of yourself.
That's right. Be the best version of yourself in this moment, and then keep growing and expanding from there.
That's right.
All right, my friends, make it an incredible week.
See you soon.